Welcome back to another episode of our FZ 80 Series LandCruiser build. Well, I guess I can't really say FZ anymore because it's about to get a Turbo Barra in it. In the last episode, the 80 was unfortunately involved in an accident and needed a front end rebuild, which snowballed us into deciding to do a Barra conversion while we had the whole thing apart. So in this episode, the Barra 80 conversion begins. We pull the Ford donor car to pieces, getting the ZF gearbox, Barra engine, wiring loom and a bunch of other things out. Figure out the motor out of the Ford isn't actually going to work, and begin a big clean up on the 80. Proudly supported by Ultimate 9, Tread, Opus Campers, Superior Engineering, and in part by. This morning we just finished pulling that motor out of the 80 there, which is behind me on the ground, and now we're straight into the Ford territory this afternoon. This is episode 2 of the We Crashed the 80 and now we're Barra swapping it episodes. And this is the Ford territory that we're going to be pulling the motor and gearbox out. So it's 4 litre Barra ZF 6-speed auto that's eventually going to end up in that car.
Just an NA engine, it's got 211.
I got the whole thing for $1,500, which is pretty good, given it's got the engine, gearbox, wiring loom, everything that we're going to need in it.
If anyone needs Ford territory parts,
We got them.
hit us up. So, where are we going to start on this thing, Tyler? I reckon I'm going to drive it up on ramps, because we don't have a hoist. I can't lay under this like an 80 series. But I think the first step will be to just get it up on jack stands, undo everything, drain, coolant. I'm probably just going to cut the rad support so we can pull the motor out like we did that one. That'll be the easiest. We don't need the car. No one else wants the car. If you do want it, you're not having it.
That's Barra swap. So why are you cutting up the front of the Ford?
So I don't have to lift the motor the whole way out.
So when you don't need a car anymore, it's a lot easier way to get an engine out.
Yeah, so I'm just cutting this bumper support crash zone, whatever it is, off, and then I'll cut this section and this section, and then the radiator and all that will come out, and the motor can just come straight through the hole.
You've had a taste of the Recipro, there's nothing that won't get cut in this engine.
Well, I undo hose cutters.
The whole thing's getting sawed to pieces.
There's not even going to be a motor left here. Wait till I get to the engine mount box.
No, you Recipro the engine mounts off.
Yeah, I might. Wants to play funny bogus, you know, it's going to get a funny game, isn't it?
This is the motor, gearbox, transfer, auto motor, FZ that came out of the 80 series. And if you saw the last episode, what snowballed this whole event that we're currently undertaking is the 80 got crashed, so it needed a whole front end rebuild. And we figured, hey, we'll just motor swap it at the same time. This motor is, FZ, nearly 400,000 Ks on it, chews through a lot of fuel. Doesn't have much power, they're pretty basic forklift motor, and it leaks oil everywhere you could possibly leak an oil from, and the auto gearbox is very clunky and on its way out, so the car needed a lot of work. A couple of YouTubers have already recently done FZ turbo swaps, so I thought, well, I'm not going to turbo and rebuild the FZ, we'll go something different. And I've had that Ford sitting out at Dad's for the last 12 months now, and I thought, well, we want to make the 80 auto. Those ZF autos are very nice, and the Barra engines are a very popular engine. So that's what snowballed some of the thinking behind this whole process. Heaps of room now for the block and gearbox to come right on out.
We We got to pull wiring harness, airbox, couple of coolant lines, power steering lines. I've got to go under and undo the drive shafts, front and rear, to pull this exhaust off.
The plan is to lift the gearbox out with the engine block because we're obviously using the gearbox. Okay, I've said why we pulled the FZ motor and gearbox out, so why put a Barra motor in the 80? Because there is a bloody lot of engine choices out there. I'll quickly shoot off some of the main reasons we personally chose to go down this route. I already had a whole Ford Territory I bought a while back ready to go for a project. We have never engine swapped to four-wheel drive, so we wanted an engine that was popular, lots of info out there on it. Barras are everywhere across Australia, loads of mods available for them, parts are easy and cheap to find. Barras make good power, cheap and reliably, more advanced technology in a Barra than an FZ. They don't use ridiculous amounts of fuel and are backed up by the well-renowned and super strong ZF 6-speed auto gearbox. We plan to use this 80 for some light local touring, beach driving and have some fun with. Just remember guys, whatever you're building, build what you want and what suits your needs.
Oh shit, I'm keeping this one. It's my money.
Just pulling out the exhaust now, and then you got the drive shaft off and stuff too, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I haven't done the O2 sensor, I don't know if we're going to need them. So I just unplugged it anyway. So I'll probably come out after this, undo some heat hoses, figure out what wiring and fuel lines.
Keep going up top.
Yeah, so I've just unplugged this.
When you say this, what's this?
This is the computer for the Barra. We have to send this off, get the security taken off it, and then I've got to pull the wiring loom out.
Yeah, we've been on the phone to Barra the World, who've been very helpful in running us through some things. Obviously, some of this Territory stuff, as you can see, doesn't matter about coming out because Birdo's hacked it to pieces. But some things you have to be careful with. Obviously, the engine block, the gearbox, and all this wiring and ECU you have to be careful with because we have to reuse all that. And there's a couple of options which we're working out too. We can either send them the ECU and all the wiring and they take the security off, put a tune on it, get all the wiring ready on it, and then we wire it up into the 80. Or we can just send them the ECU, they can flash it, put a bass tune on it for a couple $100, and then we can do the whole wiring ourselves. Like, you're pretty much combining the Territory into the 80 then. Sort of
all mesh together.
I suppose that's always one of the more complicated parts of an engine conversion. Obviously there's a few things, but one of them is making an engine from one car work in another with like computers and wires and everything, because you got to mesh them together. Berto's just slowly making his way through, disconnecting all the final pieces of this gearbox and engine, so it can hopefully come out very soon. Having a fun time under there, trying to get some engine mounts.
Yeah, getting the one from the side, there's just no room, the intake's above it.
First time pulling apart a Ford Territory.
Yeah, especially an all-wheel drive Ford Territory, so there's like a front diff here, just chill out.
What's it like to pull apart so far? Pain in the ass?
A little bit, yeah.
And any tips for anyone pulling a Ford Territory apart that you've come across?
Have fun.
Look at that, she's coming out. Look at that. What do you reckon? Just wheel her straight over here, mate. About bang her in and job done. 4 litre Barra and the ZF Auto out, ready to go. Well, that's it. The Barra is out, and I don't know what we do now. That's as far as we got. So we got some parts coming. So just put in an order with Barra the World, and we have the adapter, which will adapt the 80 transfer case over there onto the ZF 6-speed auto, and we're getting the engine mounts, cross member, all that stuff made up now, so that this can go in there. And we've got some stuff for the engine coming, oil pump gears and valve springs and backing plate. And we need to start doing some searching because we need some different parts for this motor. This is a front sump barra and we need a rear sump barra. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why is that?
It is. The sump's at the front because they got a steering rack and a diff at the back. And then in that, the diff's pretty much at the front where the motor will go. So that's why we need to get a rear sump, so that hump on the motor is at the back instead of the front.
That one down there.
Otherwise your sump smashes into your diff and then your motor has no oil.
And then blows up. And then we just need a matching rear dipstick and a couple of bits and pieces to go with it as well. So I have to get on, I don't know, Marketplace or start calling wreckers and find one of these motors that has the rear stuff on it.
If you ever get the feeling you're gonna fade away.
How's the search going?
I've gone 4 people so far, no luck.
Yeah, so we're quickly realising that finding a rear sump and dipstick and everything we need is not easy because obviously they all get used up. We're even discussing now whether or not we just buy like an FG motor, which would have it already on them because you can get them for under $1,000 and I don't know, this motor can be spare parts, or we've got two NA motors then to blow up because we can just switch the sump and that between the two of them. And obviously we still got the auto and all the loom and everything out of this car. Now, update on the engine and sump situation. Quite many phone calls later, and we've struck a little bit of a problem, which I suppose makes our decision easier of what we're going to do, but we think we need a whole new block. As you can see, it's a front sump. The basic outline of it is the sump needs to be back there. Otherwise, the diff on the 80 will smash the front sump, and that'll be a very bad time. So you need the rear sump version back there, and then you'll need the rear sump like pickup, and you also need the dipstick back there as well, because that dipstick is obviously for a front sump. Now most blocks, or many, I don't know, have like a provision for the rear dipstick back here so that you can easily move it. Turns out this block doesn't have a rear dipstick provision, which basically kind of stuffs you without major modifications, and unless you just don't have a dipstick, but preferably I'd want a dipstick and know how much oil is in the engine. So that puts us in the position of, yeah, maybe just getting a whole new block. The best we've come up with so far is, what'd you find? You're waiting for a call back, Coffs Harbour. What'd they have?
$750 for FG motor with 150,000 Ks on it.
With 3 months warranty. So that's our likely option at this point. And then that saves us stuffing around like changing sumps and dipsticks and pickups and all that. So that for $750 and it's about an hour and a half drive, we can go pick it up. It might be the best option at this point in time. But yeah, that's a little bit of a pain in the ass because, well, obviously this is the first time I've barrel swapped a car, so ideally you're better off getting an engine block that has a rear sump and all that to begin with. And then we worked out ours did, and we're like, oh, it's probably not a big deal, we'll just swap around. But then it's pretty hard to find them, and now ours doesn't even have the rear dipstick provision, so it's just snowballed into basically needing a new block.
They make it very fun to do. So I'm sure someone's looking at me going, that's not how you pull it out. But I'm just undoing when it screws whenever they're screwed, and this is how far I've got.
Yeah, first time trying to pull a wiring harness.
I've pulled wiring harness out of cars, but each car's different. But he comes out that far, and it's like there's something in there behind it, but you can't get in there behind it till it's out.
Fun times.
Fun times, man.
Berto's just spending the next couple of hours, or however long it takes, getting all this wiring harness out of the car without destroying it all.
I'm thinking about just destroying the car and keeping the harness.
As long as the harness comes out, we're good.
Like, this is premium sound, right?
Yeah. Someone
could want it, but the screen's also half, so no one's going to want it. So
Yeah.
I might as well just break it.
Just rip her out.
Might as well
You can do it. It says there, void if broken.
No, that's only that sticker. That's still got wiring on it.
Yeah, it's
Still got wiring on it.
take it back to Ford, so I don't know what happened.
They got tough wires, I'll tell you that.
Ford built, mate, built strong.
It's not Birdo strong.
While you're here, may as well just quickly explain. So it was all here, where did it all go?
So it was all just in this corner.
Yeah.
This half, so it ran all the way to here, and then it's undid, poked through over here. All of this was in the engine bay. So I've pulled it all through.
So you had to pull the guard out and that to get it out of there?
Yeah, it made it easier.
Yeah.
Made it heaps easier. Now it goes into the car just there. And then in the car there's a plug. And that's undone, but then there's also other ones that don't unplug. So that's what I'm in there.
Trying to trace.
Because I probably can just cut it, but we don't know. And if I do cut it and we weren't meant to, we're in trouble. So slow is better.
Yeah.
With this sort of thing.
The car pull apart section's going a bit bananas.
Yeah. I should just get a hammer in here, I reckon.
It started off with nicely trying to unscrew things to just ripping and tearing parts out.
Why do they do this for?
That's the shifter out there now, which will, or the auto gear stick and shifter and that, which we'll have to figure out how that'll go into the 80. And then Berto's been over here the last half hour swearing and fighting. And what are you trying to get out?
The throttle pedal, because it's fly-by-wire, it's got like electrical throttle.
Yeah, okay, and what? It's just heaps of stuff in the way.
Heaps of stuff in the way. Heaps of stuff in the way. So much stuff in the way.
Yeah, so it's really best, I suppose, to have a whole car doing this job.
Yeah, you can't do it without a whole car.
Yeah, otherwise, like, because I'm just thinking, even if we had just bought an engine block and gearbox, then you're just fighting yourself.
And then you got to buy a loom that someone hasn't cut getting out.
Yeah.
And then you have to buy the shifter that you would have had if you got a car.
Yeah.
And just all them random things.
So this is definitely the best way to do it, even though we didn't really end up with the engine we thought we had and wanted.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to hear myself on camera.
Yeah, look, here's Big Ted, mate.
Yeah,
Big
mate.
Ted on the camera.
Ooh, fucking...
So, come over here, I'll show you what we got.
Righto.
Wiring loom still on the barra. This is the half of the car loom that we need to make it all work. I've got it out.
It's as long as you, Berto.
It's longer than me. It's longer than me.
4.5 foot long.
Got a shifter plug so we can wire him in. That's OBD plug. Shifter plugs in. The worst bit was the pedal. Got him
How'd
out.
you get that out?
I done bolt the whole pedal box.
That whole guy down there.
Yeah.
What a mission.
And the steering column's fully out of it.
You pulled the column out as well.
Yeah, had to get it out. I've got the wires. Josh can wire it. Happy days. That's me done for this project. Look at this, eh? Got on Ted camera.
Mate,
Yeah.
does my head fit?
Yeah, just.
Yeah, sick.
A few more things out ready to go.
A few more important pieces.
Okay, the second barra, I can't believe I'm saying that, second barra, we had to buy another bloody engine, has turned up. So we ended up getting it delivered for $850, so it wasn't too bad. It's meant to be running, good condition. Hopefully we can trust them. Came from the wreckers. They have like a 3-month warranty and stuff on it. Meant to have 150,000 kilometers on it. It's an FG, so it's got the rear sump, rear dipstick, all the things that we need. The plan is a lot of that stuff is going to go onto that block, so I have to change.
Like the intake manifold, rocker cover, coil packs, this loom from this whole one goes onto that. And just all the little sensors I'll probably change over.
Yeah, and obviously this gearbox is going to come over onto that one as well.
Right now, currently, I'm pulling off the starter motor because I am separating this motor and gearbox. So I've got to undo torque converter bolts, bell housing bolts, whatever of these lines go anywhere, I've got to undo. Probably strip this whole loom off it because it's got to go on that one. See how tall it makes me work it, right? Mate, where's the tool sponsor that way?
Backyard engine swaps.
Mate, I would have had this done if I had a socket on my okay, mate. Let me fucking tell you. Like, what the fuck is this? You know how much faster we can get work done with proper tools? Mate, I'm fumbling this shit here with an Allen key and a shifter. Imagine if I had a little zoomer with an Allen key. Mate, it would have been 30 seconds. Well, I can go home and get some Allen keys, I'll do it. Barra engine loom, mate. Look at that. I've got heaps of parts off the motor here, so now I have to untake the gearbox off. And to take the gearbox off on an automatic motor, you have to undo the torque converter bolts. And to undo the torque converter bolts, you have to spin the motor around by the crank with one hand and then undo the bolts in a little inspection hole with the other. So with this one, you wind it around until you can get a bolt, you ratchet on the bolt, and once you've got the ratchet on the bolt, you gotta undo it. There's one out. Then to get the next one, spin it around so you can see it. Just in here. So that you can see there is the flex plate, which is the automatic's version of a flywheel, and then the torque converter bolts to that, and that's how the motor and gearbox are connected. So now we're going to undo all the belly housing bolts so we can separate the two. Not together anymore. She's off. She's good to go, mate. I just ran down to the bolt shop, got some longer bolts for the, took a bell housing bolt. We're going to bolt the engine stand on. So hopefully they give us ones that work.
There is a lot going on here. I'm trying my best to keep track of everything that's going on. We've got engines and gearboxes everywhere. This is the FG motor we're going to be using. Berto's got it up on an engine stand there, and he's been stripping back some of the parts off this other BA one, because that's all going to be going over there. So there's more to come off this, and some of the parts that he's stripped off it have all got to start going on there. But I'm not going to do that yet because we have to get inside this motor to do a couple things to it. As I said before, we're not doing a full rebuild, but we're just doing a couple of basic things. We're doing billet oil pump gears in the front here, and then some valve springs up the top. So we don't want to start bolting everything on yet, when we're just going to have to bolt it off later anyway. That's going to be a bigger job though for next week. It's Friday afternoon, so we're going to leave that for the moment. And then we've got the ZF 6-speed auto here. Berto's got it up on a pallet, and you're going to get the transfer case off that, and then pull the transfer case off the Toyota box. And then we're waiting for an adapter to come, and then we'll be able to adapt that transfer onto this box, and then that box will go onto that motor. So a little bit of a process, a little bit going on, but just collecting all the parts, stripping everything back, and then connecting it all in the right order that we need. It's getting real chaotic here.
Yeah.
This is just like carnage. Just two cars in destroyed pieces, engines, gearboxes, parts all over the ground everywhere. It's just chaos. And parts galore. And tool galore.
How you feeling, mate? You're a bit overwhelmed or what? Mate, you're getting there. You're getting there. Stress is climbing. You're thinking this is never going back together.
Berto's just pulling that rocker cover off now, because that's going to go to the paint shop with our inner guards and bonnet and all the other stuff that's getting done. Demi's picked a colour that she wants to get that painted.
What do you reckon it'll be, mate? You drop a comment down below. I don't even know what it's going to be. I'll drop a comment.
Yeah. It don't want to get painted.
Nah.
It heard the colour Demi chose, and it said, nah, not today.
It's just not having it, mate. What do you reckon about that? But there's these two sensors here, right? So you sort of have to go back and then off, but you don't even want to go back. So I might use it. I don't want to break it. It's probably just as simple as being, a bit more rough with it, but I don't want to be more rough if it's going to break. It's your money, but I'll hear about it.
You know what this means? Hands on head thumbnail. Hands on head. We couldn't get the engine. off to the paint shop we go. The next job we're going to do is get all the front of this 80 cleaned up. Berto's already been going along doing a lot of it, getting all the chassis back to a nice black.
Look at this.
But there's where he hasn't done yet.
Look at this. Oh, that's just bloody disgusting.
That's filthy down in there.
I've half scraped that already.
Yeah.
That was like
Real bad.
real bad.
So we're going to get all this back to nice black for a couple of reasons. One, just while it's all apart, we might as well just make this whole thing look super nice and fresh. And also we've got to weld on all this soon. So we need to get it all cleaned up for welding, because I got the steering box brace, which is getting welded on here. And then we're obviously going to have to weld the engine mounts in too. So Todd's coming in about a week to do that. So we're going to get this all cleaned up. Now, let's take a little look into the Barra engine. Short for Barramundi, they are an inline 6 motor developed and manufactured in Geelong, Victoria, Australia, and came in Ford Falcons and Territories between 2002 and 2016. They came in an NA, Turbo and LPG variant, the Turbo block having some slightly upgraded internals over the NA block. While the Turbo block would have been nice for our build, the NA motors are much cheaper and easier to find, and given we won't be going huge horsepower, somewhere in the 250 to 300 horsepower range, the NA block should still remain quite reliable with a turbo on it. We looked into getting the NA motor rebuilt, but it was going to take a few months. I'm impatient and I didn't want to wait, and we got a quote for around the 8k mark to build one to handle say 500 to 600 horsepower. Maybe once the funds allow, we can get a built one done up and turn the horsepower up on the 80, but that's all down the track. Now that a heap of the chassis has been scraped and cleaned, we're going to drag this thing out the door, where we're going to get the gurney on it and keep going with the cleaning. We want it looking immaculate in there. Just another day, patrol pulling out LandCruiser.
Stay in the background.
What?
Nice.
Man, that is nice. It just didn't quite have the power to pull out the cruiser, but you know, we had to call on the big dogs. How's she look clean?
I had all this dust get up here.
That was you. It's back in and it's clean. Beautiful. That's it for today's episode of the Barra 80 conversion. Make sure to tune in next week as we start pulling apart this FG motor to do billet oil pump gears, valve springs, get the ZF Auto box adapted onto the cruiser transfer, and begin mounting the Barra in the 80. Boom boom, it's working. Bippity bop, boom bip. Next step of this, I forget how to connect everything because I forget what we said last.
Next step.
Yeah. Next step of the engine swap this afternoon. Next.
What brand's the scraper, you may ask? Don't know. Found this come in a parts car. Yeah, it's free. It's not very sharp. It's a scraper now.
There's a lot of backyard budget options going on in this Barra swap.
You just got to show everyone that anyone can do it, mate.
Well,
it's possible.
Yeah, that's right. And I was meant to bring a scraper today from home.
This probably costs more than a scraper, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Did you forget to bring a scraper?
Yeah, I was meant to bring one. I forgot, so we got Berto's knife instead.
You think you'd come to work prepared?
Yeah.
I can't live like this.